There's also the question of dude bros on the internet who think they know everything and record all their videos shirtless. And they're like, if you want to get ripped six pack like this, then do these 5 easy steps and whatever. And I find that stuff off putting. I think that the scientist in us really wants to know how that intersects with our daily life experience and how one could actually achieve anything like the results that someone who spends all of their time making fitness YouTube videos has evidently achieved. And it's probably not realistic when we're trying to do other things with our lives. Incidentally, since I'm a parent and I found these dads, evidently dads, who have posted these videos about how to stay fit as a dad, even with sleep deprivation and eating a poor diet and stuff. And these guys are doing ultra marathons and doing the push-ups where you clap after you do the push-up and doing these handstands in the background. And anyway, it all seems like a big circle jerk. So here are my thoughts. Hey everyone, a couple of years ago I recorded a video on productivity tools for science and engineering grad students and postdocs and early career folks. And it got a good number of views, but then realizing as I looked at it again for the first time in a while that really I don't use a lot of those tools anymore. And I was going to record my thoughts on keeping your email inbox under control in grad school or STEM fields, and some other things that I do. But then I realized that a lot of what has changed about the way I view getting kind of stuff done is related to how do I fit in exercise to my life. So I thought I would tell you a little bit about sort of what has worked for me now that I'm over 40 years old in the realm of diet and exercise, and maybe some of this might be useful, and maybe I'll even throw some nerdy chemistry anecdotes to it as well. So part of this is motivated, and I'm really sorry if this seems vain or is self-indulgent or something, but as I've gotten older and people have said, have told me that I look fit and I'm embarrassed, but I'm also to have to say thank you or whatever or anything to talk about my appearance. But then I thought, well, maybe there's some value in just talking about this. And so in STEM studies, one is often at a computer, one is often sitting at a lab bench or a tissue culture hood or doing something that involves sedentary activity. And moreover, you're often very close to restaurants, fast food restaurants and things in your student union. There's always a fast food chain and stuff, and you're also down the hallway from the vending machine. And I remember in grad school I would sometimes have a cherry Coke and Snickers bar lunch, and then that was so delicious that a few hours later I would go back and have another cherry Coke and Snickers bar just to relive that experience. And I don't quite do that anymore, but I don't know. We'll see how this goes. So so you can do a lot of eating, especially if you're in thesis writing or paper writing or grant writing mode, kind of mindlessly. You open the fridge because it's there, or maybe your office has a fridge or a vending machine or whatever you have nearby you, and we just kind of eat in part as a distraction or because you're bored or whatever. And I'm hungry all the time, and my colleague Laura Kaiser, who was a student in my group at the time, who is now a professor at University of Delaware. Whenever she walked in, I was in my office. I was always eating, and I am indeed always eating. But usually it's it's raw plant matter. So when people say, "How do you get full off of?" Or they say, "I can't get full off of celery, broccoli, carrots, and strawberries," and I say, "Well, how many celery, broccoli, and carrots and strawberries are you eating?" Because I will literally sit there and like eat a pound, or I've eaten a 2 pound like clamshell container of strawberries in a very short order. And some of the other things that I do, I really enjoy I love pasta. I'm Italian American. There's pasta everywhere. Pasta's super cheap. It's also something that I could afford really easily as a grad student or a postdoc. And you just buy it for $1.29 or whatever a pound. And then you dump the sauce in, and the sauce is also cheap unless you get like Rao's brand homemade brand, which is $8 a bottle, but you use the sauce and it's all cheap and it tastes delicious and stuff. But one of the things that you can do to like really reduce the energetic content of that food and also keep it delicious is to use like chop a spaghetti squash. Like I have a cleaver. I have a cleaver that I originally got to open coconuts, and you just whack that sucker in half, being very careful not to lose a finger in the process, like Jaime Lannister, and or he lost his whole hand. Anyway, you chop that sucker in half. You put him face down in a baking sheet or a casserole dish. You set the oven and forget it, and then an hour later at 350, you just scrape all the fake pasta spaghetti out, and it basically is delicious and has very little energy content, but it makes you feel full. Also, I would say that not only do grad students tend to stress eat, and they also like eat cheap food because it's around, but they well, I'm speaking for myself, or I'm sorry, speaking for no one in particular. Sometimes medications for psychiatric things that tend to afflict people with high stress jobs, and also people who are very precise about their lives and anal retentive and stuff. Sometimes they are on like medication, and that makes them super hungry all the time as well. So if you can find some like delicious single ingredient raw plant matter, that does a great deal to keep you full during those hours on the lab bench or at your computer screen. The other thing I would say about diet is, so I used to have funding from the Arnold and Mabel Beckman Scholars Program when I was an undergrad. And one thing that Arnold Beckman was known for saying was everything in moderation, including moderation. And I love cookies and candy and chocolate and cake and beer and wine and spirits occasionally. And they have a high degree of energy content. They're really empty calories. And but what I do is that I feel that by eating kind of the stuff that's mostly fiber, water, and protein. I'll get to protein in a second. Fiber and water and protein and air. Air is good too. That you can indulge a lot at parties and office parties, and I have my stash of emergency chocolate and cookies and stuff under in my desk drawer. I also have almonds, though you got to be careful. You don't want to eat like a pound of almonds at a time, the same way you would eat a pound of strawberries at a time. Same thing with peanut butter, which I love. Yes, another thing. I am, this is not something I'm going to advocate. I'm just going to tell you because it's true that I'm a fair weather vegetarian. And so I don't eat meat at home, but I eat meat out sometimes if the veg options are not good, and or if I'm just like at an airport and I really just need something to keep me full, and the only thing there is like McDonald's or something, and then that's what I gotta do. And so, but like chicken and fish are great for protein and stuff. Okay, speaking of protein, how do I get that? I eat a lot of Greek yogurt. I put fruit and chia seeds in my like plain non-fat Greek yogurt. There are also these products now that are like sugar-free, which tastes kind of fake. But if you need the sweetness, they taste pretty indulgent, and they're like pure protein, and that keeps you full. I ate a lot of eggs, like a lot of eggs, and I also do protein shakes using peanut butter powder, and there are a few different brands of that, but it's basically all the peanut butter with a lot of the peanut oil taken out, which makes it pretty nutrient dense. So nutrient per calorie ratio is pretty good. Okay, so the easiest things you can kind of do to sort of maintain like fitness and stuff and staving off cardiovascular disease and things. And I've spent a lot of time worrying about cardiovascular disease because it runs in my family. I have a history of anxiety and high blood pressure and stuff. So I don't want my arteries calcified and stuff. So the sort of the baseline there is a lot of raw whole ingredient, or not raw, I mean single ingredients. And a lot of times they're raw because all that fiber and stuff keeps you fuller for longer. Okay, on the exercise and movement front, sort of the zeroth order thing is don't sit for too long. And this can be hard to do, especially if you're at the bench and you're on your stool there, or, excuse me, you are at your computer, you're doing a simulation or coding something or doing writing. So writing, very sedentary activity. I, for a while, was a big fan of standing desks, and for many, in some cases, I still am. I don't currently at University of Rochester have a standing desk in my office, but I did for many years at UC San Diego, and I'll probably get one for my U of R office. But one of the things that I found is that it kept me energized on days where I was doing rote tasks on a computer. So like emails and things that didn't require a lot of scholarship, let's say. So reading carefully, writing carefully, doing things that were just kind of only required my brain at 60% power. And then I could take the rest of the executive function in my brain and use that to ignore pain in my feet and lower back and knees from standing the whole day. However, if I need to do something that's really intellectually taxing or scholarly, then I absolutely have to sit to do that. And I have also found that it's better on my feet and my lower back, especially because lower back pain and foot pain becomes worse every single year that you get older. Okay, so that's sitting versus standing. And there are some other things too, like it's not just it's not just the posture that you have during stationary activities. It's actually getting out of the office to go do things. So going to the bathroom, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, that kind of stuff that you can pretty much find on any website. But then we get a little bit more into the like active, like exercise regime. And so I used to run a lot, like in grad school. That was one of the nice things about being in a lab, is that you could take some time off because you're just going to add that time at the end of the day. Like if you took a lunch break to run, you could always add that back into your lab schedule later during the day. So I would do that. I did a couple of 5Ks, half marathons, and then one marathon, which was the second most painful thing after my high altitude splenic infarct from my sickle cell trait that happened in Peru. But anyway, the hiking the Machu Picchu trail. But anyway, doing the marathon was painful, but to do that I was running up to like 20 miles a week or something. I can't really do that anymore because I'll get heel pain, I'll get knee pain, I'll get blah blah blah. And I know people, running experts in the comments are like, that means you're doing it wrong, you're over pronating, over under, whatever. Trust me, I've thought about all of that stuff, and and I've done everything. Human beings were not meant to run that. The median human being did not evolve to run that much into their midlife and older ages. So as a result, my running mileage is down. But what I've replaced it with is walking. A lot of walking. In fact, I did the notes for this podcast by walking around my neighborhood with a weighted vest and weighted armbands, by dictating notes into my phone, and in particular dictating into ChatGPT's app and saying, take out all of the ums and ahs and try to anticipate all my speech to text errors, and then spit it back at me, but organize all my thoughts in a way that would be logical. Now, interestingly, I haven't looked at the output of that a single time during this podcast, even though I have it on my screen right here. But I'll probably scroll through it just to make sure I didn't forget anything. But I think just the process of doing that engages your brain while you're also getting getting your blood flowing and increasing the elasticity of your blood vessels, increasing your VO2 max and your heart stroke volume, and lowering your blood pressure and resting pulse rate and all that good stuff that contributes to not getting heart attacks and dementia and stroke, which are all really great things. So what else do I do? I know the vest thing is kind of obsessive, and especially because this morning with the wrist weights, I was also walking around my neighborhood doing arm circles, which I'm sure seemed ridiculous. Okay, less on the cardiovascular health piece and more on the vanity piece. So stomach crunches, I think it's important to have strong abdominal muscles because it makes your back feel better, and with a lot of hunching posture that a lot of us scientists engage in, you kind of want your strength to be good in your torso. So crunches I find hurt my neck, and they also don't really do that much in terms of vanity purposes. Read into that what you may. And so leg lifts are actually way better. So in a hotel room or on your floor of your apartment or something, you can stack up a couple towels and then just lift your legs up like this with your arms at your side, and you can do that. Now I've taken that to kind of the next step. So this is sort of the, second order law in Darren's fitness thing, but I have what's called they call it a power tower, I guess. It's the standing thing where you kind of hoist yourself up and you hold these handles, and then you do lift it up leg raises to get to strengthen your core. And I've used ankle weights for that as well because I always need things to be harder. That's just the way my personality is. Okay, so that's abdominal muscles. For lower body, I do calf raises twice a week, also weighted with the vest. I do squats and bike. And if you your bike can either be kind of cardio or it can be strength training, depending on how high of resistance you're at. But one of the nice things about bike training is that if you do it indoors, you can get another productivity hack along with it, is that I think biking indoors is really, really, really really freaking boring. So I have one of these pretty inexpensive roller desks that rolls over the handlebars of my exercise bike. But if you're in a gym or the campus gym or something, you don't need to get that. You can do a lot of stuff on your phone by dictation or by watching course material, or I've watched a lot of Khan Academy videos on my phone while exercising, as long as I'm not like out on the street, because I'll get hit by a car, maybe. And those can be really good ways to kind of fit all the stuff you need to do in. And I okay, so what else? Okay, upper body exercises. The nice thing about some of these exercises, like leg raises on the floor, is that they're all body weight. You don't even need to buy anything. I think push-ups and planks are really useful. I used to get like ulnar pain on the exterior of my forearm by doing too many push-ups, and one thing that was really useful were those handles that swivel. The one I have is called Perfect Push-Up, and that makes it so that your wrist stays neutral while you're doing this exercise. Then what do I have? Pull-ups. So pull-ups, you can do those. I do those on a tree sometimes. A lot of walking paths have a pull-up bar. The one on the Genesee River campus has one that I'll use at home. Sometimes I'll do it with the weighted vest, but mostly what I use, and I know this is like the next level because you need space for this, or you do it at a gym, is I have a weight machine, and I know some people are really anti-weight machine, but it's worked for me for like 9 years. So that's what I do, like lat pull down, and then for pectoral, and so it's like lats and then biceps and triceps. Those are covered. For pectoral muscles, I do the seated bench press, and because I don't want a spotter, and because I'm by myself. And the other thing is like the seated pectoral fly, like this sort of motion. Okay, so I would say that, swimming. I got into swimming late in life. I actually posted a YouTube video about this several years ago. That's actually probably my most popular YouTube video ever, which is weird because it has nothing to do with science, at least not really. And what's nice about swimming in grad school and postdoc and early career sciencing is that you don't have to bring a lot of equipment, and if you rent a locker at like the student rate, it's cheap, and you can just shove a camping towel in there or something that dries quickly. And also when you are traveling for like a conference or traveling home on breaks, and there's like a pool or something, then you can, or at the hotel or wherever, you can, like, swimming stuff takes up a lot less space, and you don't even need to bring a towel usually when you travel. And then your goggles and swim cap and stuff can all be just balled into a very tight package without much smaller package than running shoes and all that stuff. And also running shorts get all nasty and smelly and disgusting when they're in your travel bag. Okay, if you want to know any more details about any of this, please leave a comment and I will try to address it in a later post. All right, thank you for hopefully I said something useful. Keep in mind, I always do this. I always find something else I want to say. Okay, keep in mind, it's like 0th order is thermodynamics, right? Like you have to put less in, you have to put the same amount in as you do that you're expending. Okay, so we all know that. That's obvious. But how how do you feel full? Okay, lots of like whole ingredient type things, and protein, water, fiber, air are your friends, especially protein, because if you eat a lot of celery, you're going to have other issues. And then being moving as opposed to not moving. Okay, that's zeroth order. The first order, I would say, is more like, subbing out calorie dense things in your prepared meals that you're going to prepare for yourself with less calorie dense things. The other thing is that's like the pasta for vegetable pasta kind of thing. Then and on the exercise part, the first order thing is body weight exercises, stair climbing, even if you look silly, just like going up the stairs 3 times. It really does get your heart rate up. And then if you really get kind of anal retentive about fitness and exercise, you can, buy gym memberships and, force yourself to do these things, probably more than you want to, but you'll probably like the way you feel afterwards. And I think that's why people do it and find it addictive. All right, bye.